With the international break upon us, we're here to preview England's match against the USA. Wembley Stadium will once again play host to the Lionesses in this international break, who'll be hoping this is a much more successful game than their Germany encounter just a month ago. We discuss the squad selection going into the internationals, how the USWNT will look without Rodman, Swanson and Smith, whether Serena Weigman can get one over Emma Hayes. This is our England vs USA preview. Alright, let's talk about it then. England-USA coming our way tomorrow. Harry, should be a really exciting game.
Yeah, very exciting game for multiple reasons. England-USA is bound to be a good game anyway, even if it is a non-competitive match. You know, it's Emma Hayes back at Wembley, which is great to see. If you know, certainly from a Chelsea point of view, it's going to be a really, really good game. Two of the best teams in the world at the moment, and hopefully it is going to deliver an exciting game, even if there's no kind of purpose.
Yeah, you'd like to think it can't really be a worse performance than Germany. So for England, this has to be a step up from that. But yeah, let's start then by having a look at the England squad for this international break. Then we'll start with the goalkeepers, Mary Earps, Hannah Hampton and Anna Morehouse. Do you think that's fair, or are you surprised Kiara Keating, obviously with the U23 squad for this, but not in the first team reckoning?
Yeah, they're the three goalkeepers we expected. They're the three goalkeepers from last international break. Earps is incredible, so is Hannah Hampton, and Anna Morehouse is a very, very high quality goalkeeper. So yeah, and yeah, with Keating not really playing enough for Man City, it makes sense.
Yeah, well, that was the weird thing, because Keating looked to be back into the first team picture for Manchester City. Then Yamashita played a Champions League game in Chelsea, and suddenly she's the first choice again. It's been a real weird period for City, especially in goal. But yeah, as you say, Keating probably not playing the amount that England and Weigman would want her to. So I can see why she's with the U23s rather than with the senior side. Across the defence, then, we've got Millie Bryant, we've got Lucy Bronze, Jess Carter, Gabby George, Alex Greenwood. We did have Maya Letitia, but she has pulled out due to injury, part of concussion protocols. So instead, it's Lotte Wubben-Moy. We've got Esme Morgan, Millie Turner, and Leah Williamson. So the first thing I want to talk about there is Wubben-Moy, because coming in as a late entrant, but her initial omission for me is very interesting. Does that show she's perhaps... well, she's got a difficult time at getting a place for next year's Euro squad?
Definitely so, especially if Wubben-Moy is in a position where she's not playing for Arsenal. You know, since Rennie Slager has come in, I think Wubben-Moy started one game, if not any. And that for me, I think that's the reason that she wasn't picked initially. You know, Weigman can't pick a player who isn't playing, similar to Keating. You know, I think they're both good players, but if they're not playing for their clubs, then you can't really pick them for your international team. So I understand why Wubben-Moy was left out initially, but with Letitia pulling out, Wubben-Moy was the easy option, really, to call up instead.
Yeah, but to add to that, I think when you look at the makeup of England's centre-backs, you've got Millie Bright and Leah Williamson, who are very similar. And you've got Alex Greenwood, who's a little bit different. Letitia, probably closer to the Williamson-Bright mould, but I think offers you something different. I think Turner a little closer to what Greenwood offers you. And also comfortable playing left centre-half. With Wubben-Moy, I think she's too similar to Williamson. Way too similar to Williamson. So there's no real upside of taking her. So I can see why you look at the other five. You go Bright, Greenwood, Letitia, Turner, Williamson. And you say, well, there's not really any space there for Wubben-Moy. Yeah. Obviously, if there's an injury, she's the next best thing. But I think there is a good chance she's not called up for next summer's Euros, because you're going to take Esme Morgan because she can cover centre-back or left-back. You're going to take Jess Carter because she can cover centre-back or right-back. I think both of those players' positions in the squad are in some doubt, but I think their versatility helps them out there.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I definitely think that Carter and Morgan are very, very good in terms of being versatile and, you know, making up the squad. But I do think, especially in Carter's case, is that they're, for me, not good enough to start for England. Jess Carter really struggled against Germany, and we saw Carter really struggle for Chelsea in her final season. She's gone over to the States, and I think she's looked all right over in the USA, but the performances for England haven't improved, and that for me is going to be a problem. I don't think Jess Carter is good enough to start for England anymore. I love Jess Carter. I think she was a phenomenal player, but now I don't think she's the right player to start in that England back line. So definitely make up the job. Good experience for both of them, but I would be surprised to see either of them start at any point.
Yeah, the issue for with Carter, though, is that because she can cover centre-back, left-back or right-back, she's very versatile across all of the back line. I think there's more of a chance that she is taken. I wouldn't be surprised, though, because if Letitia is being used as a backup to Bronze, then there could be space around the centre-back if it was to be that Letitia is a right-back in this England squad, and then instead Lotte Wubben-Moy will come.
Yeah.
And then I think at left-back, Esme Morgan's there for now, and George is there, obviously, and we'll talk about Gabby George in a moment, but Once Niamh Charles is back fit, you'd have to imagine one of those drops out the side. And if
Yeah.
George keeps playing as well as she is for Manchester United, then I can't see it being her being dropped.
Yeah, exactly that. I think Gabby George has been rewarded with a call-up. She deserves it. That's been a key part of this Manchester United defence that has looked so solid. There's a reason that three of the back four have been called up to England, and well, the only three of English players in that back four. But yeah, they've looked. I think George has looked really, really strong. Has had a really good season, and hopefully we'll be able to put in similar performances in an England shirt. And as if we do get to round to 2025, George is playing as well as she has been for the start of this season, then Charles and George will be nailed on fullbacks or left back. Sorry.
Yeah, fair enough. Into midfield then, and we've seen a bit of rotation here. Now, I think it's only through injury, and obviously, for anyone that watched Wednesday's video, we spoke about how Wiegman hasn't really rotated enough, hasn't given certain players opportunities enough. But I think, and while she has done it a bit here, I think it's more through necessity than through handing players opportunities. But it's good to see them hand opportunities regardless. So you've got Laura Blinkilder-Brown coming in to make her debut with the England first team. You've got Grace Clinton, Fran Kirby, Ruby Mace, another debutant, Jess Park, Georgia Stanway, and Kira Walsh. Now, we've spoken before about how you've got Stanway and Walsh, but there's not really any backups. Do you think that's why we're seeing Ruby Mace involved? Because she is probably England's next best, more defensive option in midfield.
Yeah, potentially so. This is what we want to see. Well, I mean, obviously, we don't want to see players getting injured and not being available to call up, but we want to see the opportunity handed to youngsters to come into the first team and to really impress. And this is a huge opportunity for Mace and for Blinkilder to come in and to put on a show and prove a point, especially, I think, more in Mace's case in terms of that. I feel like more people know Blinkilder. They know how good she is. She's played numerous times for Man City this season. I feel like it's a really good opportunity for both of them, but especially for Ruby Mace to come in and prove, as you say, that she is England's next best. She will come in and replace who England have already.
Well, that's the key thing for me, because I think with Laura Blinkilder, it's quite obvious that once you've got Toon, once you've got Lauren James back, there's no space in the squad for Blinkilder yet. Maybe if she performs really well for City, suddenly there is a conversation to be had, but right now that isn't really a thing. But with Ruby Mace, it feels like there is a real opportunity that she could usurp someone from this squad. I think if you're looking at performances right now and you're looking at squad balance, you don't really need. So if you've got Clinton, you've got Parker, you've got Lauren James, why take someone like Ella Toon? And so that suddenly becomes a really difficult conversation, because Toon is going to be a fourth choice attack midfielder, or you can take Ruby Mace and actually have some cover in midfield. So this is a big opportunity for Mace. Now, I don't think she'll start USA. I think we'll probably see the usual Walsh-Stanway partnership, because Wiegman will want to get them comfortable playing with each other, even though they have for so long. They haven't they've only played a few games this year, so she'll want to keep that going. But I think definitely for the Switzerland game coming up on Tuesday, there's a good chance Mace will start that game, be handed an opportunity, or at least I hope she is. And then we can see if she is ready for England first team action. But given how she's played in the WSL this season, I think there's no reason to suggest she won't come in and take to it like a duck to water. So, yeah, I think she's going to be England's third choice defensive midfielder at next summer's tournament. I hope that's the case, and it's not that Wiegman goes, well, it's all right because we could play Letitia there, who I think would do a good job, or we could play Williamson there, who could also do a good job. But I think having someone like Ruby Mace, who does play that role and that position week in, week out, and is much more comfortable there, is probably a better backup to someone like Stanway or Walsh. Yeah. And we saw last World Cup how without any backup to Kira Walsh, suddenly there was a huge issue when Walsh got injured. And then we had to play Walsh through injury because we didn't have any other options.
Yeah, I think it's a weird period of time for Ruby Mace, because it's one of those where she's got to come in now and prove her point, but it also, and I think, as you say, she should come as a backup, but for her, it'll be playing the waiting game and trying to prove that she is good enough to start once Walsh or Stanway, once Walsh and Stanway are kind of towards the end of their career. That's the problem at the moment. The England pivot is one of the best in the world, if not the best. I mean,
there's no backup.
There is no backup,
a real issue,
and that is an issue. But Walsh and Stanway are as phenomenal. As you say, they're probably both going to start USA because that's the bigger game, and especially Stanway after the performance against Germany, undroppable. This whole season, Georgia Stanway for club and country, superb. Yeah,
just to play sort of devil's advocate, because I think Kira Walsh is brilliant, but does her lack of game time at Barcelona concern you at all? Because obviously she's made it quite clear she's not staying at the club next season, so she's not really playing at the moment. Is that a concern to you? Is that a concern to Wiegman?
I think it would be in any other case. The problem is I think Kira Walsh is the best defensive midfielder in the world, or definitely up there. And for that reason, I think whether she's played, I do think that eventually, come the end of the season, Where is their match sharpness going to be at? We're not really quite sure. But really, for me, Walsh is one of the first names in this England squad.
Well, and I think for Barcelona, their refusal to use her is fine now. But I think if you're getting to the Champions League knockouts and you try and play a midfield of Putea, Spormazzi, and Patrick Gallardo, as brilliant as those three players are, that lacks balance.
Yeah.
And I think against some opposition, you could get caught out.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I think as much as I see why they're freezing Walsh out, you could also utilise her and then, give her respect at the end of the season rather than freeze her out because she's refusing to sign a new contract.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that one pans out. Then the forward area where there is a bit of contention, as always with this England squad. You've got Aggie Beaver-Jones, Chloe Kelly, Beth Mead, Jess Naz, and Alessia Russo. Let's talk about Chloe Kelly because I think that is the big talking point from this forward area. Is there any way that she doesn't get in this England squad? Because she has barely played for Manchester City this season and yet continues to get in.
Yeah, it's a really tough one because I think Chloe Kelly on her day is a very, very good player. Scored the winning goal in the Euros. Incredible player for England. And when she has played and when she's on form, can cause any team problems. But as we said, if you're going to exclude Keating because she hasn't played, if you're going to if you plan to exclude Ruben Moy because she hasn't played, why is that different for Chloe Kelly? I don't think you can. She hasn't played a game. I know she's played some appearances, but that's for me not enough to come in and be able to be in the England squad. It's bizarre. It just feels like if you're going to exclude players for not having game time in other areas, you have to back that up in the striking department. And I think Kelly will probably count herself slightly lucky. I do think the injuries in attacking areas have slightly benefited Kelly because you could argue that suddenly Hemp comes in over Kelly and then Kelly's not in the squad. I think that could be the only.
That is the argument. Lauren Hemp's not in the squad. Lauren James isn't in the squad. So who plays on that left flank? But I would counter that by saying, well, Jess Naz is more than comfortable playing on the left-hand side. You've got Aggie Beaver-Jones who can play on either flank, and you've got Grace Clinton who played a lot on the left-hand side for Tottenham last season. So I don't think they're devoid of options in those areas. The other person who I think is being completely overlooked at the moment is Nikita Paris. She was excellent last season for Manchester United and crucial, I think, in their FA Cup victory. And then we see this season has come into this Brighton side in electric form, and it must be so demoralising, not only to Paris, but to other England players who would be hoping to try and make the squad at some point, to see Chloe Kelly picked and Nikita Paris not. Because Chloe Kelly this season has not played enough football for Manchester City. Nikita Paris has been absolutely excellent for Brighton, who are third in the league, let's point out. I can see why there would be frustration there because there is no way Kelly is more deserving of a spot in the squad than Nikita Paris.
It's one of those where Kelly hasn't started a game. I think just started one game. Definitely not started a WSL game for Man City this season. And as you say, you've got Paris, who has been ever present for Brighton. You've got even Beth England. You could argue.
Paris missed the first two, but she wasn't there.
Good point. But there's other players that for me have put up more numbers this season, have played more, which is the main thing. It's a really weird one. I do think that once everyone is back fit, Kelly won't be in the squad, and I think Kelly will know that as well. But
will she? That's the big question. Because I think if we get to next summer and it's between Naz or Kelly, I think Wiegman's going to take Kelly, and that for me is the issue.
I don't know. I think it'd be interesting. So that is a tough question.
Because you'd have to assume that Blinkhilde Brown will be out, unfortunately for her. There's not really any opportunity there. And then, so in comes someone like Lauren James. You'd have to assume Lauren Hemp's coming in, so then it's between Naz and Kelly. You've got to also assume that Toon's coming back in, because no matter how bad she plays for Manchester United, she'll always be picked for England. And so suddenly, there's a lot of difficult conversations to be had, because players like Ruby Mace deserve to be there. Players like Nikita Paris, who apparently just isn't even in the reckoning right now, deserve to be there. But because players are picked because of their name and because of what they've done for England before, rather than because of the form they're in or how they're playing for England now, we keep coming up to this situation. So I think it's going to be a very difficult one to assess.
Yeah, I think it's the main thing which is different to Kelly is that it's not like Kelly's played and is out of form. It's the fact that she isn't playing. So we're not saying that Chloe Kelly's a bad footballer and she's not playing well and shouldn't be involved. It's the fact that, and it's not her fault she's not playing. It's the fact that you have to be realistic. If she's not playing football, you can't really call her up.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think that yes, she is a good player, but she's not at the level of someone like Ella Toon, where even if she is out of form, you can say, well, it's still Ella Toon.
Yeah.
I don't think Kelly's on that level. I think she is a good player when she's on it, but she's not playing enough. She's not in form. You can't really justify that pick for me. Players like Lauren Hemp, Lauren James, Ella Toon, it's different because they are top players, and it's very difficult to exclude those kind of players. But for players like Chloe Kelly, I don't think she's on that same level, and so the lack of game time at the moment makes it really weird that she's getting picked for England. And I know she scored in that final, but for me that's not enough. We don't still call up Ellen White because she was brilliant. Even if she doesn't want to, we can call her up. But yeah, I think that at some point you've got to admit when a player's time has gone, and she could come back, because I think that there is still a good player there, and if she does get a January move, then maybe she'll be back in the reckoning for Euro 25. There's no reason why not. But to keep picking her in these November internationals is really bizarre. I think there'll be a lot of players sat at home during this international break frustrated. Because what more has someone like Nikita Paris got to do? But alas, she will be there. So let's talk about the game then on Saturday. We might talk about Switzerland later in the week, and we'll probably do a review of the USA game and a sort of preview for Switzerland, so look out for that. But let's talk about the USA game then. What do we expect to see from this USA side?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. USA obviously coming into this as Olympic gold medalists. They look incredible under Emma Hayes. That Olympic tournament was what a surprise. And we know, I mean, Emma Hayes, it just feels like it's going to be a very, very difficult game for England. This is Olympic gold medal USA. Yes, they're missing a few players, and we'll touch on that. But it's still the core side that won the Olympics. Emma Hayes not only
defensive midfield.
I think Emma Hayes not only is a phenomenal manager, but her record at Wembley is impeccable. So it's going to be tough for England, especially having to come into this game after the Germany loss a few weeks back. It's a big game for England. I think, yes, it's a friendly. Yes, USA are very, very good, but it's about the statement that England put out. If you go out and win this game, suddenly all the problems that arose against Germany are quieting down, and England look a lot better. So I definitely think that, yes, it's a friendly. Yes, Pittle might not read into it much, but I do think it's about proving that England are still a very, very top side.
Yeah, so let's talk about those omissions then for USA. There's no Sophia Smith, no Mallory Swanson, no Trinity Rodman. Now, obviously, the season has just ended in the NWSL, so they've had a lot of games recently, so you can see why perhaps the manager's reluctant to take those kind of players. So I can understand that from Emma Hayes, especially since all of those players were involved, I think, right towards the end of the office. I don't watch a whole lot of NWSL, so if there is anything wrong in this section, apologies for that. For a personal note, as someone going to Wembley on Saturday, I'm gutted.
Oh, furious.
3 players I was really excited to go and see. And I know they're playing against England, but it was still someone, I was really excited to see those players. Not going to be there. So that, on a personal note, really gutted. I also think from an England note, it's a real shame, because I think that this would have been a real test of our backline. And we saw just how badly we were stung by having to face Clara Bull, Eula Brand, and Alexandra Pop. I think this would have been a whole other level, and it could have been really bad. And obviously that's not great, but we want to see that now rather than get round to next summer, because as much as Lynn Williams is still a threat, is she the same level as Mallory Swanson? No. And so I think that is going to be a real shame. I think that we want to see England defend more valiantly in this game, and I don't know if that will be put under pressure now. So I'm not so sure that's going to be a great yardstick of where England are at now. But it's still going to be a really difficult game, because they have still got their full strength backline, they've still got their full strength midfield. So they're still going to be really strong. Well, I believe is close to full strength at least. And I think they'll be really good. That midfield battle for me is going to be really interesting, because you're going to have it's probably the biggest midfield test bar Spain, I think, for England. I think those 3 sides probably got the best midfields in the world right now. But when you look at that USA midfield, you've got Lindsay Horan in there, who is very combative. And, well, there were a lot of questions open up about Horan at the last Olympics, but she did keep playing and did okay. We don't really know who else. Well, it will possibly be Rose Lavelle in there, and possibly be Corden Albert. There are options. If that is the midfield 3, though, that is a really difficult midfield 3 to play up against. I think it's going to be a really good test of what England can do, because I'm not sure we've seen that midfield put under enough pressure. I think if we Germany, who I think have got a good midfield, but probably not an elite midfield. With Sjoka Nusken in there, I think that is a good midfield, but they played through England like they weren't there, and that was what was really worrying. And I think we want to see more from that Stanway Walsh pivot. We want to see more from the attack midfielder, whether that's Clinton, whether that's Jess Park, whether that is, who else have we got that could play in attack midfield? I think that it's probably going to be one of those two. Or it could be Laura Blinkilder, but I'd expect it to be Clinton or Park. Whether it's either of those players, it's a big test in there, because you've got to show that you can be valiant in defence and you can be resilient, but then you can also get the ball forwards and you can also get involved. And I think we've seen in the past from England midfielders, one of 2 options: they either drop too deep and they don't really get involved in the attacking play, or they just stand up front, like we saw last time out,
Yeah.
where Latoon didn't really get involved in that midfield battle. I think that's why Germany found it so easy to navigate the England midfield, was because they were just outnumbering England every time. So we will be really interesting to see what happens, but I think it's going to be a really good test of that midfield. As I said, I don't think the back line will be properly tested, but it's still the USA. It's still a really difficult game, so it should be interesting. Obviously, the added thing of Alyssa Neyer, it's her last 2 matches in professional football, which is really exciting. Sad and exciting. It's always nice when someone retires because you get to honour their career, you get to show them their respect, but it's also sad to see them go.
Yeah.
And I think it came as a bit of a surprise, to be fair, because I know she's 36 now, but she's been playing so well over the last few years. It did come as a bit of a surprise. But equally, I think it's fair at 36 years old. It's probably her time.
Yeah, very much so, as you say. From a neutral point of view, from a real point of view, phenomenal career and a brilliant player. From an England point of view, I hope she concedes 4, but that's besides the point. For her,
she can concede 4 of them. We'll applaud her afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah, celebrate it after the game. But yeah, a really good player and two nice fixtures for her to bow out on.
Yeah, England and Netherlands. I mean, it's 2 huge games.
Yeah,
so
brilliant.
Very exciting stuff. In terms of England, then, 'cause I've spoken a bit little about the USA there. In terms of England, what do we need to see from England that we didn't see against South Africa and we didn't see against Germany?
I think, as you mentioned with the combativeness of the USA midfield, the fight for England and the work rate is going to be key.
This is a friendly, though.
It is a friendly.
It's worth bearing in mind players won't be going 100%.
They won't be, but I'm sure Stanway will still be throwing tackles in at 95%.
Well,
but,
I didn't say that. I don't know. Stanway does always do that, regardless.
I think that for England, it has to be much better. It can't be as open as it was against Germany because the USA will punish it. It just has to look more. There was a distinct lack of kind of togetherness from England on that pitch against Germany. It very much looked like 11 players rather than an actual team, and it felt like every individual was losing on that pitch rather than as a team. They just didn't rally, they didn't work together, kept getting caught out, and I think England have to just look a little bit sharper, move the ball a little bit quicker, get more involved. As you said, there were too many players in that Germany game who didn't really have an impact on the game, and England can't afford to do that against the USA. It's just England has got to raise it in every department by a couple notches, and suddenly it'll turn into a really, really good performance.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting point for me. There were a lot of issues with the Germany game, and while there's a lot we could talk about and assess going into this one, I'd rather do that on Monday. We'll see what we do against the USA, and then we'll break that down. But for me, I want to see us try something different in build-up, even if it doesn't work. I just want to see us try something different because what we did against Germany was pointless. We kept trying to play the ball out to the fullbacks and they'd run up the line. That just wasn't working. So I want to see us try something different in that build-up stage. I want to see us be a bit more confident in position, in possession. I want to be a bit braver. So I hope we see us actually go and take on the USA. Attacking-wise, we did nothing last game. We didn't create many chances. And there's a couple that Alessia Russo managed to make for herself, pretty much.
Yeah.
But other than that, we really lack creativity. And again, I think a bit of that is who was on the pitch. I don't think Beth Mead's been in particularly good form. Again, another one who's been called up.
She has better, man. She has it better than after weeks.
Under Slagers, but I still don't think she's been the Beth Mead of old. And obviously, Ella Toon was starting. I don't think we'll have those same issues. But will be interesting to see whether we can create something. I hope we see Jess Park. It's probably going to be Clinton, Mead, and then Chloe Kelly or Jess Naz. I hope we see something like Naz Park. I don't know, Clinton Park, whatever. I want to see Jess Park play, basically. That's all. That's my only request. Let's get Jess Park playing for this England side. But yeah, I think England can be. It's a fantastic squad. It's just got to be utilised in the right way. The problem is what Serena does at the moment is too obvious because she's been doing it for 4 years, and international management changes so often. This is one of the longer reigns now. Serena Weigmann approaching 5 years. By the time her contract ends, she would have had an 8-year spell with England. She's got a contract through to 2027. So I think that while obviously you could say that, fantastic manager, I think she's got now the big test is, can she reinvent herself? Can she reinvent this England side? And can they be a threat going into next summer's Euros? Because they should be.
Yeah. I think, we're at the point where I understand, especially I think more in this game and hopefully building on it, is that England just have to go out there and play like European champions. Go out there, be brave, be bold, take the game to teams and put them under pressure. I think, especially in this, it's a friendly. For me, yes, it's the USA, but don't play it safe. I feel like there's no point playing it safe or trying to be defensive. It's a friendly. If you go out there and you be brave and the USA beat you, fair enough. But if you know, perhaps being bolder, being I feel like England didn't play like champions against Germany. They need to bring that level again.
Far from it. Shall we finish with some quick fire predictions then?
Oh,
Go first, Harry.
I'm going to go for a draw. I think it's a mixture
Boring.
of a USA side who aren't at full strength and an England side who aren't playing to the best ability. For me, that's going to level out as a draw.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm torn because I think this would be 3-0 USA or 3-1 USA if they had that full strength front line. But as you say, I don't know if USA will be quite as prolific in attack. So I'm going to say 2-1 England. I'm going to be optimistic that we will win this. I think we will get away with it at times because I think that USA's lack of quality in the front line, not lack of quality, but lack of top quality will let them down at times. So I think England will win this one, but I think it will be a close game. I think
definitely.
Without Smith, Rodman and Swanson, these teams are very close.
Yeah.
So, which is worrying because once those three come back, USA are suddenly quite a bit ahead. But I think England can narrow that gap. The question is, will they? But yeah, I think that USA is going to be a really interesting test. It should be a very good game. That is everything, though, from us today. If you want to watch more content that we've been doing up for this international break, then we did a video the other day. Harry wasn't on it, but we had a wonderful journalist by the name of Jan Keys who joined me for an interview. We spoke all things Serena Weigman, so that will be on screen now. What's going on with Weigman? Is it similar to the Netherlands side that she used to coach? And all those sort of questions. So go and give that a watch. But that is everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.